I tested about 27 of them. Side by side, and did a comparison with 100 records that were people that I actually knew. So like, candidates that I've worked with in the past whose email addresses were known to me and were in a very challenging space with a specific type of government clearance. So I knew that these were hard to find people, and I knew what the numbers were and the phone numbers and the email addresses were. So I used this list of names and LinkedIn profiles as the test and uploaded it to all these different services and paid for it, of course. And I found that there was a massive amount of overlap between many of them. In fact, because of the uniqueness of the test, I was able to determine which ones are duplicates. So like several of the tools out there will buy their data from the same provider. And I could tell who the original provider was based on the test results. But what was interesting was that there really wasn't one that captured all 100. The most I was able to get was about 85% from any one tool, and that was Seekout. Seekout was the one that gave me about 85%.
I was under the assumption, I hope Seekout's not listening. I was under the assumption, because they've been one of our sponsors, so thank you, Seekout, we love you. But I kind of was under the assumption that Seekout, HireEasy, and these tools were actually partnered as or white labeled with companies like Rocket Reach or Swordfish or ZoomInfo, where they were just pulling the data from their backend into like via an API. That was my assumption.
Specifically, you're not terribly off there. It specifically, they acquire it. Okay, so what happens with Seekout in particular, they're legitimately acquiring the data at a cost to them from these providers, but they're going directly to the providers. They don't work with the sub brokers. What I found was that there's a lot of providers that claim to be providers that are actually brokers of the big ones. So the four big ones are People Data Labs, Full Contact, which is Contacts Plus now, they got renamed. Nymeria and PIPL are the four big providers. There's a few others, but People Data Labs and Full Contact, Nymeria, and PIPL, and everybody else buys from them. So when I went out there and I tested Seamless.ai and ZoomInfo and Find That Lead and Rocket Reach and Info Data Plays, True People Search, Been Verified, Fast People Search, US Phone Book, Discoverly, CellHack, Radaris, all of these, and even some other ones, Lucia, WebMe, etc. I tested all of them. There was so much overlap between them that it was pretty obvious that some had bought the data and just never bought it again. So it's like a one-time purchase. Others continue to get it updated, and others are literally just nothing but just purchase data. But there are some of these tools like Swordfish that had results that were unique. So that's why Seekout and Swordfish are my favorite. If you don't have Seekout, or you don't need Seekout for all the other things that it is, and you just want purely email addresses and phone numbers, Swordfish is a good alternative because that's all they do, right? There's no, they don't have an ATS, they don't have a CRM, they don't have email camp. They just do give us a bunch of data and we'll give you a bunch of enriched data. So that's my go-to for just that. What I do is I combine them. So I'll start with Seekout, and let's say I have 100 names, right?
And you do your sourcing and Seekout?
Exactly, right. And I do my sourcing, and I now have 100 names. Seekout provides me 85 of those email addresses. That leaves me with only 15. Then I go to Swordfish and pay for the extra 15, and I'll get maybe 10 or 11 or 12 out of those, which leaves me only 3 or 4 that I don't have. Those I'll go out and manually find because it's worth my time to find 3 or 4 people. It's not worth my time to find it manually for 100.